with the Fresno Police Department, and I run the homicide unit. This afternoon, I'm going to be providing you folks with an update related to murders number 18 and 19 in the city of Fresno. Tragically, this particular case is updating the death of two children in the city of Fresno that happened as a result of an arson investigation. Yesterday, Tuesday, May 3rd, just about 6:45 in the morning, the Fresno Fire Department responded to a residence in the 3600 block of West Robinson for a report of a house on fire. In relatively short order, Fresno PD was also summoned to assist based on some information that was immediately developed. During the course of that investigation, we learned that 29-year-old Filimon Robert Hurtado intentionally set ablaze the residence and specifically wanted to kill the occupants inside. The 32-year-old Hispanic female, who happens to be the mother of the children, was also wounded as a result of this particular incident. She suffered significant injuries as a result of being lit ablaze. She was transported to Community Regional Medical Center, and she is currently listed in critical condition. Both children, 18-month-old Catalea Hurtado and 5-month-old Kelix Hurtado, were inside of the residence and were ultimately pronounced deceased as a result of the fire itself. Initially, the Robert Hurtado, Filimon, who goes by Robert Hurtado, provided some admissions to EMS personnel and as well as Fresno firefighters that he intentionally set the residence ablaze with the intent to kill these individuals. Our homicide unit responded to further that investigation. And likewise, during the course of our interview, Mr. Hurtado admitted that he wanted to set the house on fire because he wanted to kill everybody inside. So Mr. Hurtado suffered some significant injuries as well as a result of the fire, and he is currently at Community Regional Medical Center where he's being guarded by police. And after he's released from the hospital, we will be booking Filimon Robert Hurtado at the Fresno County Jail for 2 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, as well as various other arson-related charges.
Can you tell us who he's related to, mom or dad?
Yeah, so the residence itself is, they have the family, which would be the Hurtado family, and Filimon's brother is the individual that was not present when the criminal activity occurred. He actually left to work in the morning.
And Filimon, did he live there? Was he visiting?
Yeah, our information is that Filimon lived at that location with his brother, his sister-in-law, and his 2 with nephew and niece.
You also put in the press release there was no explanation as to why. I guess so. No fight or argument, even now talking to his brother. Yeah, there's very rarely do we ever share any statements related to the investigation without compromising the integrity of the case. But in this case, there really is no rhyme or reason for him to do something in such a horrendous manner. Didn't provide an explanation for us. So to that end, detectives are conducting further follow-up, meeting with neighbors, talking to other family members to see if we can determine a motive. Information about any sort of physical harm that was done to either the mother or the children prior to the fire starting?
No, there was no information. All the harm came as a result of the fire itself.
Do we know how he started the fire?
Yeah, the fire was started with gasoline inside of the residence.
This is a graphic question, but I mean, as the chief had mentioned yesterday, obviously the mother was severely burned. Did he seem to have attempted to pour the gasoline on her, around her?
I can't share those specific details with you, but what I can tell you is that it was an intentional act, and as a result of this intentional act, not only was the 32-year-old Hispanic female mother burned, but the children were burned as well.
Do we know if he was, or if this is speculated, if he was under the influence of drugs or alcohol?
At this point, there's no indication that he was under the influence of any alcohol or drugs, and so that's part of our investigation. We're going to be waiting the results from any type of toxicology that we have as a result of him being at the hospital, but there's nothing to indicate at this point that that was the reason, or a reason.
His criminal history?
No criminal history whatsoever. Limited information on this individual, nothing that jumps off the page at us, so to speak, to let us know that he was going to be engaged in this type of criminal activity. Yeah, it's out of the blue for us.
Will the smoke detectors work?
I don't have that information about the smoke detectors working, but I can tell you that the female, the mother, was lit on fire. She ran out of the residence and alerted a neighbor, and immediately the Fresno fire was called as a result of the fire itself. So, in relatively short order, the fire department was apprised of the residential fire at that location and the fire that was actually set on the mother.
Were they sleeping at the time?
We don't have information that they were sleeping at the time. It's our belief that possibly the children were, but we know that at some point during this critical incident, the mother actually came to the doorway and encountered her brother-in-law, Mr. Filimon Robert Hurtado, and then at some point in time thereafter, she was lit on fire, and then she left the residence.
Do you know which room or the fire started at? Did it start in the kids' room or?
Yeah, that part of the information is I'm going to have to punt that over to my the fellow investigators with the Fresno Fire Department. They're as you folks know, we're working a bilateral investigation. Their job is to determine the cause and the origin, and I would be speculating, to be honest with you, if I could tell you where the fire started. I can tell you, though, that the fire ultimately did reach the room where the mother and the two children were located.
They were in the same room?
That is correct.
So, because it sort of seems like she was lit on fire directly. Do we know if he lit the children on fire?
I don't have that information.
You said we're at 19 homicides. Is there a comparable number?
Yeah, the same time last year, we had a total of 28 murders.
Did he pour gasoline on himself, or maybe someone got on him and that's why he was burned, or did you see anything on that?
You know, we can't. I would presume that as a result of him using some type of an accelerant, such as gasoline, would be a reason why he caught on fire. But at this point, I would just be speculating. All I can tell you is that he does have injuries that came or were sustained as a result of fire.
What does he do for a living?
I don't have that information, ma'am.
Did you guys obtain any surveillance video that is helping in your investigation?
We did.
In the neighborhood or elsewhere?
Both.
Has there been any prior calls to this house, this residence before, for any type of?
No prior calls for service, no criminal history, and again, nothing that would alert us as members of law enforcement to be, concerned about the welfare or the well-being of any individuals at that location.
So were they in the same burn unit at the same hospital?
That I don't know, sir.
Have you been in contact with the family, maybe the husband, any message or sentiment they're sharing at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. As part of our investigation, we have to be thorough. Set a fact aside that this is a very awful and tragic incident. If I didn't mention this in the beginning, we extend our heartfelt condolences to the family. This is a very difficult for the family in this time. And likewise, in the same vein, I think it's also important to note that these type of cases have the tendency to touch the hearts of our officers as well. Anytime we have a loss of life, it's tragic, but it's also extremely tragic when it involves children. All that being said, our job is to be professional, to make contact with any and all persons who are witnesses in the investigation, and to that end, we need to talk to family members to figure out how we can prepare the case best for the district attorney's office for successful prosecution.
Can you just touch on, I know you just kind of mentioned it, but how difficult it is for police officers and firefighters to respond to crimes like these? I know two of the firefighters, it was like their first or second day on the job yesterday.
Yeah, in this type of line of work, first responders, whether it be fire or police officers, unfortunately, we have to encounter events like this. And as I mentioned before, we're all human beings, but we're also professionals. And so there's a time later on for individuals, whether they be Fresno Fire or Fresno police officers, to receive some type of help if they need that. But this is a part of our job and something that we have to do.
Can we also talk just about the family, since you guys have been in contact with them? Any need for financial assistance, or is there any, I guess, also in these situations, services that the department extends to the family when these sorts of crimes happen?
Yeah, so I don't have any specific information with regard to the family requesting any type of assistance, financial or otherwise, but I can tell you that when we have victims of violent crimes, we work with the Fresno County Witnesses Service Unit, so they'll be assisting the family with funeral arrangements, and those are going to be something they're going to be dealing with. This is going to be a long process. We hope that the mother is able to recover from this incident, but I can tell you that it's going to be a long process for her.
Just to clarify too, it seems like this all sounds like it unfolded very quickly. This wasn't something like he set the house and kind of walked off and let it do its thing. It sounds like it was more of like an intentional almost attack.
Yeah, absolutely. Our job as in the homicide unit is to figure out the intent. Genuinely, we have an arson that occurred, resulting in great bodily injury or death. In this case, there's a very clear distinction behind arson and then arson with the intent to commit murder. And it's our belief, based on the investigation and the evidence we collected thus far, that this rises to the level of murder.
Anything else we didn't ask about this case? Have you ever seen anything like this?
Unfortunately, I have. I've been doing this for quite a while, 26 years, but it's far and few between. And unfortunately, these type of events, we have to have investigators that come to work with a clear mind, and that we focus on providing justice to the family. So, as with all cases, I believe we've done a good job in canvassing, but there may be some folks out there that have information that's relevant to this case. If you happen to know or have any information on Filimon Robert Hurtado, please feel free to contact our police department. You can dial 621-7000, or you can remain anonymous by dialing 498-STOP.
One other quick question. I don't know if it's a detail you'd be able to share. Does it appear that he left to go pick up the gasoline at some point? And if so, was that morning or a different time?
I don't have that information.
Can you just stand or something?
Yeah, absolutely.